someone watching my live stream will call.
Oh, you do a live stream?
Yeah, but I do it.
You guys are on.
Oh. Hello, welcome to the live stream of the next episode of the Epic Vibe show with Dr. Vibe. I am Dr. Stephen Schwartz, Dr. Vibe, and we're here for another episode 8. I think this is episode 8.
That's a wonderful number, actually.
It is, and I'm happy that you're here, the number of infinity.
Interesting.
And we have our special guest, Motohaus,
Hello.
my new friend.
Very much so.
Yeah, we met in Coachella like 2 weeks ago at the Unexpected Party.
That's right, yeah.
And just, is it okay if I tell a little story?
Please go ahead.
So we were dancing, and it was Saturday night, and we've been running, for those who've been following us on Facebook and Instagram, we hosted this large Vibe Zone installation at the Unexpected Party, at the Coachella Party.
Yes.
And our zone shut down, and we were out dancing, and you were spinning some really awesome beats. And I was just totally mesmerized by, like, you had all these knobs and all these switches, and we were in this little hotel room.
Yeah, it was like a tiny space.
Yeah, tiny space, and you were getting at it.
And I was super,
And I'm really fascinated. I'm always fascinated by DJs. Like, how I'm like, is this like recorded music, or like how, like, what level are they interacting with it? And you were just so organic, and the music just felt really good.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And I actually really don't even like electronic music all that much. So, like, when I'm very picky and selective about the electronic music that I like and I resonate with. And then the next day, this was Sunday, the event was over, and we were partying. We were having a Sunday night party.
That's right.
And we're at the bar, and you came up and you, like, kind of...
Yeah, I saw you guys walking on the dance floor, and because the promoter, we were supposed to play at another event, but it had gotten canceled from, I don't know, they just had some problem with their permits or whatever it was, off-site Coachella stuff, shenanigans, right?
Sure.
So we had nothing to do Sunday, so the promoter of Unexpected asked us to come back, and he's like, hey, if you guys want, I'll sit you up at the table, just drink, whatever, and enjoy your time. So we're like, you know what, why not? So we came, it's music playing, it's blasting, and I saw you guys walking by, and I'm like, I love those dudes. And Brad, who's here, he's on one of your vibes right now, I believe. Brad's like, who? He's like, I'm like, those guys. He's like, oh yeah, they were dancing last night. I'm like, I'm gonna grab them, man. So
here we are.
And here we are. And then we started talking about, our missions and end game goals, and kind of like what our wheelhouses are about. So it's nice to vibe with you, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit of time, because I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together about who you were until it connected, and I was like, yes, this is the DJ from last night, which I was stoked on. But more importantly than that, we really started getting into music.
Yeah.
And how you produce music.
Yes.
And I started asking about all the different frequency and the different frequency ranges and your library. And I remember you broke out your, like, ninja kit. I think you called it your ninja kit.
Yeah, my ninja bag is over there.
Yeah, your ninja bag. And it had all these different plugins and all these cool little things. And we had a lot of things in common.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also thought was interesting as well too is Brad and your friends. I remember they got on in the Vibe Zone.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
I never got on. I didn't have. I didn't know what it was, and I'm kind of like that. How you are with music?
Yeah.
I'm like that with everything.
I get it.
So I'm like, they're like, oh, it's a burger. I'm like, yeah, but who made it?
Yeah.
Right? They're like, yeah, but it's just normal. I'm like, yeah, what's normal to you?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like this. I'm a little bit.
Well, I like that.
I'll try everything twice, right? I'll try everything twice, but it's still, it takes me a second before I jump into anything right away.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until we started talking that that's what you guys were doing, and I realized that at that moment that, oh wow, the people that were partying on the dance floors. I remember my dance floors, but regular life I forget people all the time.
Yeah.
But I'll remember your energy on the floor.
Yeah.
Like it's like everyone has their signature.
Yeah.
And it's not the way they dance.
If you ever see me dance, I definitely have my own.
Oh, you guys were just sitting there signing like.
Yeah.
And
see if we got Facebook
it was cool to know that you're doing this stuff with the Vibe, because the Vibe is awesome, and I got a chance to try.
You just had your first experience
just now, right before we went on camera, and your music's really nice, by the way. Really wonderful. It's like you're producing within like a nice place with your bass. Like, okay, I'm gonna work with here and here because you're working with your Vibe.
Yeah.
I can't wait to actually produce with this thing as a reference point, because I see what you're doing with the frequencies and how I'm sure you could explain it far better than I. But just in my first initial experience,
Yeah.
you know, I can tell that it's real. You got to try it, Joe. Wow. Yeah, I'm talking about boy over here. Joe's always with me in Ibiza, wherever we are, off camera. I guess if you guys knew, it's hilarious. Actually.
Well, that's good.
We're gonna draw on camera one of these days, man. It's like,
I apologize, we're not getting, it's not working.
oh, okay, well,
What's it not?
So it's saying it's recording, but it's saying low network connection, and I just checked on my phone to see if it's coming through, and
It should be fine.
it's not. It's not.
So nothing's recording?
So the broadcast isn't going through. I don't think that you're hooked up. Are you hooked up to the Wi-Fi here?
Yeah. But we shouldn't be on Wi-Fi at
So
all.
it's low network connection. So if you want to just,
I
yeah.
don't want to be on that at all. I just want to be on regular.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
and we're back.
And we are back. These are like the early days of live streaming through
This is
Facebook
what makes it
Live.
real.
Yeah, this is totally makes it
At the
real.
end of the day, like, we're not robots, we're not illusions.
Yeah.
We're illusions, some of us.
Well, we had some really deep conversations. I do kind of turn into a pumpkin at a certain time in the evening, and I don't know, it was pretty late. We ended up going out to this like after party, and then we kind of never really got in.
Yeah, we kidnapped you to like some other part of Coachella in the middle of who knows where, behind like some secret gates, and then like another secret gate, and then another lair. It was like a crazy adventure. We were just calling it Chase-Chella. Like it's Chase-Chella. I don't even know. We're just, where are we going?
Well, I think
Somewhere. It's another house party with the same people as the last party. Like pretty much, you know.
Well, I think what was interesting about that is
it was awesome.
I really wanted to get to know you.
That's what
And we were in the car, and this was going on, and part of me, I'm not a really good faker.
Good.
Like, you kind of know how it goes, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I wanted to drop in,
Yeah.
but we were also in the back of a car. We were waiting. We were like,
And we were waiting for like half an hour.
yeah, waiting for our gate. It was getting late. We had to pack up the next day,
Yeah,
and
so you
then
guys
we
went back
left.
to LA the next day.
Yeah, and we were like, okay, let's just call for another day. So I'm happy that you accepted my invitation
For
to
sure.
come on the show.
For sure.
And
There's a wonderful facility too you guys have here, man.
Thank you.
Oh my God, beautiful.
we had.
It's weird. Everything I see, I always think like, I wonder if we could throw a rave here. Like, my mom's like, check out my kitchen. I'm like, we should throw a rave here. You know, it's like this is terrible. I think Joe's the same way, actually.
It's funny you're talking about raves, and I'd like to get some more history about you in the background. But we had a call this morning because this past week actually, I've been in San Diego,
Yeah.
and I was invited to speak at this event called the Brain Summit.
Right.
And I spoke on the topic of how to access cellular memory using sound like frequency and vibration. And the delivery systems are the vibes.
Right.
Vibrational individualized body enhancement systems. They're called vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have research, I've been showing it, and I'm a doctor. And it's important for me. Like, this is a delivery system. And we a lot of people in the festival world and in the music scene have a very strong affinity for what you guys are vibrophiles.
Totally.
You know, like audiophiles, and then we have vibrophiles.
Totally.
And so there's a population of people, large population of them buying that. Thank you so much for supporting my technology, this technology. But my personal soul is really about like offering this as a legit access point for people to change, to harmonize their nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what this whole weekend was about. And I spoke amongst some amazing doctors from all over the world. And anyhow, I was coming back this morning, and one of our customers, she said, "Oh, I have this opportunity with these doctors, and they want to know us." It's like, "Do you have any information that doesn't have any pictures of like raves or festivals?" and it was funny because like so
we're
we
like, wait, no, hold on, but I'll make some.
Well, so I've been thinking about it, and when you look at our materials, when you go to our website, there's really no rave pictures on there at all. We post, and I was talking with my girlfriend who does all of our social media, and she's my marketing director and does an amazing job. And you know, we post what this company's doing.
Right.
And last week we were at Coachella.
Right.
This week we're at the Brain Summit.
Exactly.
Next week, we're going to be at Portal to the New Earth in Joshua Tree.
Oh, that's
And where were we the week before that? We were at the Biohacking Conference the week before that. And all of these events are smashes.
Yeah. and filled with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
This is what's super cool about these festivals for me the most, is that all over the world I've played something like 72 cities.
Wow.
You know, in the world, and
Yeah,
everywhere
why don't you tell
I
us a
go-
little bit about who you are and your journey? Because you have an incredible journey, which you've shared with me.
Well, I started doing hip hop back in, I guess, '98 or something like that, '97, professionally, and like started to record albums and then put out, you know, singles and music videos and all this jazz. And I was touring with like Wu-Tang Clan and with Ice-T, doing shows with Beastie Boys and De La Soul.
Rapping or?
Yeah, I was an MC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to rap. Yeah, I even got my mic on my arm tattooed,
Nice.
the earned microphone. You gotta earn it.
I
Takes
mean,
bars.
those are the big boys in,
Yeah,
in the 90s, I guess.
Yeah, late '90s, and
Yeah.
I was like, for me, I always considered, like in retrospect, that I was already past when hip hop was dead. True hip hop to me was like what I grew up on, and over the
Like
last
who were
few
your,
years,
who were
man, we will talk obviously like, you know, the guys I toured with for sure,
Yeah.
and then, you know, obviously the Tupacs and Biggies and Nas's and the Tribe Called Quests and
Yeah, that's my
you know, all these kinds of cats.
Yeah.
There's so many. Far Side, I did shows with them, with AC Alone from Cali out here. Man, Hieroglyphics. There's so many. That were really good. But the era, just, you know, it is what it is. They silenced them because essentially what they're talking about was real, right? And it wasn't selling their products per se. It was just a real statement that becomes dangerous and almost usurping when it comes to society and the way it's structured in this day and age, especially in America. So now you've got the era where the vocalist gets bought. You know, I was saying on another interview the other day that, you know, the biggest rapper in the world right now is an ex-actor. You know, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to trust a rapper that was an actor first. It's like
Oh, rapper was an actor. Okay.
first, because he knows how to read a script for
Okay.
money and fame and tinkle tackle. And I can't. That's not for me. That's not the news.
Well, I mean, think about it. The most popular president
Was an actor as well.
was an actor, yeah, right? And now our current president, I mean, like
He was trained on television for 10 years too, saying
Yeah.
you're fired. So,
Yeah.
you know, these guys, they get their chops up, and it's hard for me to believe somebody 100% when they're reading from a script. I'm a terrible actor. I'm terrible at it. You know what I mean? I would have to resonate with the role, and the
Yeah.
person writing would have to know me to write for me to actually nail something.
Yeah.
Because you know, I'm just not good at, like you, faking it. You know, I just kind of do it, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, my honesty.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit either way.
Well, you
Because
gotta find your niche.
yeah, exactly. And so when I got out of hip hop, I always, like I was saying, I always felt like I was late, even getting into it as far as making records, because I felt like the golden age was over. So when I stopped, this was about 9 years ago or something, I really gravitated towards techno and house music. I went back in '95, I think was my first rave, you know. And all my hip hop friends would be like, "Oh, what are you doing on Saturday night?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just chilling with a girl," but really I'd be like at this rave, like fingernails painted with a fucking sticker in the middle of my forehead, my dreads hanging down, just you know, because back then, you know, being a hip hop guy, you say to your friends, "I'm at a rave," like there was just all sorts of connotations that went with that were kind of antithetical to their like hip hop macho machismo world. Because they just didn't understand. Over the years, though, I've converted all of them. You know, like every single one of them, I've got pictures of inside of a party, like proper. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever at the point. But this is, you know, during the '90s, early 2000s. But when I decided I'm over hip hop and I wanted to, I'd been producing records for many years at this point. Even though I was a rapper on touring, I was producing maybe, I don't know, 180 other vocalists, rappers and singers and rock and roll people and And then I just quit. I made an announcement on either Facebook or MySpace or one of these things, whatever was cool then.
Yeah.
It was probably MySpace, to be honest, saying that I quit. And no one believed me. My friends were like, "You're tripping." And I did. I went to Miami, went to a music conference, just went to every party I could, absorbed all, you know, just yes to all type thing. And found like the algorithm that I loved back in the 90s was still there in the music.
What was the algorithm?
Well, in the 90s, there was a lot of house, right? Techno was still trying to find its space, even in Germany. They're still, you know, figuring out its technology, right? Techno.
Yeah, techno.
It looks to the future. So when you're building that machine, there's a lot of trial and
Sure.
error. Whereas house music is essentially nostalgic. It takes from samples, it takes from the past. It's, remember this moment, bro, remember that time, man, It's this, you know? And this is what makes house music very special, but also what makes techno special, which is kind of why I more considered a techno artist than a house music artist is because I'm more like, okay, let's kick that glass window out and jump through the fog and see what happens. Yeah, I've got my batarang and with my, little thin zip cord, so I think we're going to be okay. So what do you mean you think? It's like, come on, man.
We're just going for it.
Right? Where we're going, we don't need roads. It's like this.
Yeah.
But house music is a little more safe. But in the process of making house music, you're sampling old school records. And this comes full wheelhouse or full around the bend to where we are now. House music has been chasing the frequency and the root mastering, right? Since it started. It's the fragments, essentially, of disco. Disco was the very last music that was recorded in 100% analog, delivered to an analog medium for the people to wax, right?
Interesting.
And tuned to 432 hertz, because this was...
Disco.
Yes, of course, it's Pythagorean, man. Because these guys are all the old jazz players and the R&B players from before.
Okay.
They're the old guys that ba-ba-ba-ba. All the guys that, where'd they all go? They didn't get no works after 1980. Why? Because they didn't want to tune up. It was an old joke that I learned a long time ago here in LA, actually. And it's an old guitarist and a young guitarist sitting in the studio working on a record in 1983. And the young guitarist looks at the old guitarist and says, "Hey, old man, you're flat." And the old man looks down at him and says, "No, son, you're sharp." You understand?
Yeah, totally.
It's fucking hilarious, right? And the first time I heard it, I'm like, I don't get it.
Oh, okay.
And then over the years, and I've been given the jewels and the gems, like, we didn't have these, it's like when you first learned about it, it was kind of like, in this weird moment of life, like, oh wait, what's that? And then you gravitate towards learn more and learn more and learn more, because it's not in school books. They don't just hand this information to us, I've gone to different music schools, and this is the last thing they'll ever tell them. Just like they tell them to mix last and arrange first.
Yeah.
When we talk about producing a song, which is also insane. But
I don't know how is that a thing to mix last and
yeah, because you should mix first.
Oh. Okay.
Every sound has to, it's time and space, right? No two things can exist in the same time and space. All things must have their place, right? So, sound is no different, as it being an ever-expanding three-dimensional geometric shape, right? Interacting with other expanding, exponentially moving three-dimensional geometric shapes that we perceive as sound, right? They can't just fight each other. You got phase cancellation. So you want to carve them correctly. So when you've got your kick drum, and then your hi-hats, and your bass line, and da-da-da-da, you should do all of your carving in just your first 8-bar loop. Build your crescendo, splash it across, redact.
Okay. See, like that, when we were talking about that, because, you're talking about the first time that, that it kind of came through for me, like, I'm a doctor. It's still coming through for me. Like, in terms of, that's what, but I know.
You just gotta fight the walls that they built on you.
Well, I know what but see, that's why we connected. Like,
yeah.
I know what I'm wanting to do.
Yeah.
But then I listened to you, and you explained like that to me at the night in the hangar,
yeah.
And I was just like, that makes perfect sense. and I explained that story about, I think I told you about with the evolutionary linguistics.
Yes,
When I was in Peru.
Totally.
And that was the same exact principle. So you're making it these like kind of digital walls. You're making these harmonic walls. You're using sound walls.
Correct.
And you guys are
and space.
space. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because when you have nothing, something has meaning,
yeah.
right? And it's like frequencies. If there's nothing for a moment, or just space between them, you can differentiate between what's going on, and then you can start dealing with layers, with patterns, with space, da 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 da. So this is a very important part. But even in that, what people were trying to do from in house music, right? Just so we don't totally lose the topic, since there's some people that I'm sure are actually interested in this. But when you are making house music, you're sampling old records. And you sample that old record, and you go and you open your Moog or whatever else, and you're sharp. And you're like, what the hell? So they're trying to pitch up the record, right? And then it loses the feeling, and they're like, what the hell just happened? I had the same sample that this guy used, and it sounds like shit. And it's like, well, it's because you're in the wrong group tuning.
Yeah, it's like two different.
Well, yeah, no, it's sharp. What do you want? What do you want?
Yeah, you need to be flat, not sharp.
Yeah, and it's only flat in its own comparison to what's sharp or flat, right? Because sharp and flat is only relative. You know what I mean? If you start at 432, everything else sounds sharp when it's not, right? And vice versa.
Exactly.
So it's like
you lose that softness.
Yeah, exactly. You lose the ability. So reference point is very, very important. But if you're coming from a 4/4/1 world, it's like for them it's just flat, and that's just that. It's hard. It takes a bit of time to click it over.
We were having this. I just think about this because I'm like satellite radio guy, but I just really there's nothing good on the radio. It seems
Well,
like
it's just because everything's broadcast and shit frequency.
it doesn't feel good.
It's poison, bro.
Yeah.
Take a water molecule.
Yep.
Hit it with a sound vibration that is dissonant. Okay, even just slightly, and then watch what happens to the water molecule.
Well, of course. I mean, that's like Dr. Emoto's work.
Correct.
You're familiar with Dr. Emoto?
Absolutely. This is the first step into a larger, giant rabbit hole that I fell in. Was because of that guy.
And cymatics, you've heard of
course,
okay.
two-dimensional representation of sound shape.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you know what? When I was reading about cymatics, you see the picture, but actually the true cymatic is the empty space.
Correct. Yes.
Because that's the sound.
That's the sound.
It's
yeah.
everything else filled in around it, which is just like when you
That's
look
what
at it, you have to
like-
you turn around the other direction. You're like, wow, like it's like the opposite of what you're saying.
Correct. You have to look at it
It's
like
like-
negative
yeah,
from
it's
what
like
the
the
sound is
negative.
doing. Yeah.
I think that's
It's very,
really
very interesting actually, because what happens when cymatics, you can see it too, when they're going through the frequencies up in pitch and the shapes change. There's a moment where it's perfect. And then anything off that perfection within that particular shape is not perfect.
Exactly.
Right? And
The
when
distance to
you
get
look
to
at
that.
exact perfection in
Yeah.
the geometric shape in the cymatic, and then what root tuning is it in? It's 432.
Mm.
So everybody in there like, yo, we need more evidence. I'm like, what do you mean?
Just do it.
It's right there.
Yeah.
You know? It's that simple. You know, and this is how it all works. You know, 528, which is resonance of the sun, is in that same Pythagorean scaling, right?
You know, it's so the vibes. That is a body cymatic activator because we're vibrating your body.
And what's funny, I felt it. I was listening to the
that's what
songs
it's
that
made
you
for.
did, right? And it was I think this is the last part of the
Abundance, yeah.
The very last one. And there was like when the bass went in and it cut out, and not at the very end, but throughout the record, you know? And you could feel the resonant vibration. Like, how do I describe this? I guess the resonance compounding on itself in octaves, right? But without those octaves actually existing in the sound that you had just played, coming from just this specific bass. You've got to try these things, Joe. You're going to trip out.
We went to
It's amazing. Like you can feel it, and I was getting. What's strange is, I know I sound like I'm like super high, but I'm not. So I just went on one of his vibes.
You are
This is
high.
like, yeah, right.
I mean,
it
this
was
is
like I could see certain geometric patterns and shapes, right? That because of my work with music and production and how I understand sound design, it was exact. Like it was crazy. I could visually see the shape of the vibration that is coming through, and I haven't actually ever had that experience before.
So it's interesting you say that.
Really, really cool.
That album and most of my music, with the exception of my 7th album, was produced in Colorado.
Okay.
And people always ask me if I make the music, and I design the music, I work on with the music, but I've collaborated with different producers over the years. And Jason Kale, actually, we produced 3 albums together. Super awesome, friend of mine. But it's funny because I wanted to do live therapeutic music, so I went to Guitar Center and I'm like picking out hardware, and I buy it, and I was he's telling me all about it, and I'm like, cool, I'll take that, and I'm checking it out. I was like, do you know how to use this? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm a professional DJ, and he was like, oh, like do you do tutorials? He's like, oh yeah, you can hire me, and he started showing me stuff, and he's like, is this what you're gonna do? And I was like, yes, that's like exactly what I'm looking for. And so we started a kind of a band. We started doing live events together.
That's amazing.
And it's in Colorado. And lots of the stuff's on YouTube. I have some really epic, like the stuff that we've done, really epic. And then we ended up going into, and we produced 3 albums together. But I remember that Abundance track because it was a B-side extra track for Transformation. So the album's called Transformation and Abundance. And everybody asks me about the frequencies. Everybody's talking about the frequencies of the music, and I was part of this weekend. It was called Adventures in Transformation Weekend, and I was invited to lead a workshop.
Right.
And the guy who led it was one of my patients, who does these subconscious mind reprogramming workshops, and he invited me to do it. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want it. How long do I have?" He goes, "You have an hour and a half." And I said, "Cool. I want to do a 45-minute lecture on the science of transformation." And the science of transformation is, I'm having some technical difficulties here. And the science of transformation is all about like what are the components that are contributing to it. And then we take people on what we call the like a genie's lamp phenomenon, where they kind of set an intention and they access where they are in their mind, what they want to create. And then what I did was we did a 45-minute live frequency DJ set where I took all these I have a whole recipe, by the way. Sacred geometry, physiological frequencies, mathematical ratios, all designed to do something.
I need all of this immediately.
This is the whole thing. So this technology is on 7 of my albums.
Oh my god.
And so we just took him in there, and then Jason was there, and he plays keyboard, and I play the didgeridoo, and I had crystal bowls and chimes. And so what the instructions was so we did 45 minutes of instruction, and then 45 minutes of kind of this sound experience. And what I wanted them to do is take their intention of the transformational genie's lamp phenomenon that they wanted to create, and as they were meditating on it and feeling the frequencies through their bodies, if they felt stuck anywhere in their body, they would raise their hand and point to where it felt stuck. And based off of where it was stuck, I would choose a specific instrument. And I had a laser that was playing Nozier frequencies. If you're not, Dr. Paul Nozier is a French medical doctor / acupuncturist that did all his research on auricular therapy and frequencies. So I used this. So I was like taking the laser and putting it over where it was on the body, and then I was playing music, and we were like releasing the blocks. And we did that for 45 minutes. It's all on my YouTube channel. My Dr. Stephen Schwartz. If you go to Dr. Stephen Schwartz DC, I have 2 videos there, and it's on its Adventures in Transformation Weekend. And it's like a black and white. They shot it in. It was because the lights were. It was in like in infrared, so it's kind of it came out black and white. But you'll see what's happening. And I remember it was right before lunch, and we all finished, and we went to lunch after. And I was like, "How was it?" And people had this like look on their face, you know. It was super transformative. And then about a month later, we did this very large party down at the Brent. What was it? What hotel? It's like this large hotel in Colorado Springs, and we did this huge. It was like Pink Floyd meets sound healing.
Sick.
Yeah, and so we started doing those kind of things in Colorado. Then we produced this music. So transformation was those frequencies. I was like, why don't we just make an album out of it? And we put that. And in Abundance was just was like, I want to make a 15-minute sonic cup of coffee. It's a beta brainwave state, activation. And I've always wanted to make, because, you know, one thing I think that you and I really resonate with each other is you're very much like counterculture. You're very like outside the box. And yeah, and I love that about you. And you're also very much thinking about how can we create like the new earth?
Of course.
Yeah.
There's the whole point for me being counterculture. It's like, I'm not counterculture because something exists. I'm just against the things that bind us. I'm more interested in what can keep us free in exponential harmonic growth.
Exactly.
As not just a species, but an entire planet within a galaxy and a universe that is filled with amazing opportunity and potential. So how do we become part of that correct upward spiral?
Exactly. Well, that's why I'm kind of doing what I'm doing.
Yeah,
so you know, we think about sound healing, and everybody thinks about like laying down.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just gonna grab the water. Go ahead.
I'm all about being
Water.
water.
It's all about water, actually.
Yeah.
As well.
I want to finish the statement.
Star in a jar, though, I'm sure.
Star in a jar?
Star in a jar.
No.
Sound into water creates a specific frequency. Creates the extraction of oxygen to bubble in the center of the water. As it becomes stable, the bubble expands and explodes into light, and then stabilizes, giving off heat, a specific color and a specific geometric shape. And then once that has become like fully stable, just with sound being the ignition, the medium, right, into water, then a torus field of electromagnetic begins to form.
I'd like to watch that.
Yeah, you can check it out on YouTube. It's fucking incredible.
Well, my first chapter of my book is on hydration. And actually my whole aspect of accessing cellular memory, there's two components.
Yeah.
The living connective tissue matrix and the intracellular water. So we talk, and I work it's all about structured water, mineralized water for activating a medium of conductivity and cellular memory.
Amazing.
That's the foundation. And see, now I wanted to finish what we were talking about.
So, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we lost track.
It was water.
Yeah, we're talking about water. Well, it's my favorite topic.
Me too, actually.
It's my favorite topic, and everything that we're doing without water is nothing. Because you know what the opposite wait, what did I say? You know what the opposite of a conductor is? You'll know it. You'll know the answer.
No, I should know this.
An insulator.
Thank you.
A conductor, insulator.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about our cellular connective tissue matrix and everything running through there, Dr. James Oshman, I quote him all the time, and he wrote a very intricate book called The Scientific Basis of Energy Medicine. And it's a super intense book. But he talks about, in the fluid dynamics of the body, a 10% reduction in cellular hydration results in a reduction in physiological functionality by 1 million times.
Wow.
And so when you extrapolate that between, like, saying born when you're like 90, like 90% water is like an infant, and when you die, the range, my research read that it was about 50%. There was
Really?
It
It goes all the way down to 50 by the time people are dying.
That's not even so. Between 90, that's only 40%.
That's a lot of water, man.
Well, that's what's interesting. So we're at like probably like 70%.
Yeah.
You know, because we're like,
yeah.
I mean, so we're already down. So that means that our cellular functionality is reduced by 2 million times or 3 million times. And so disease is a deficiency in your ability, cellular communication, to be optimal. So, like, because we have these things called tumor necrosis factors. We actually have tissues inside of our cells that are designed to identify and eat cancer cells that are developing all the time in our bodies. So, what happens? Why is that a breakdown? Probably because we're not hydrated, and and our cells become compromised, and the cellular communication gets reduced by 1 million times, 2 million times, 3 million times. And now, instead of like, I was like, hey, you know, Mona, can we, like, we're gonna go, I say something to you, and you're like, what? You know, like, you just get stupid, right? And the next thing, you slip, something slips by by you, and next thing you know, your physiology is responding and doing something else. Yeah. That's disease. So it starts with hydration and conductivity for clearing cellular memory. I think we're talking, okay, so anyhow, this was the whole concept. So I feel that my first 7 albums are literally just the beginning phases. So when I think about what you're bringing to the table, I just keep thinking, how can I refine the delivery system more and more? Because I can tell you, between like working with my first 2 producers, which were amazing, every time I work with a producer, I learn more and more.
That's the way it goes. Same thing.
I mean, dude, I'm a doctor desperately like learning music, you know? And I remember when I started working with Jason.
I'm a musician desperately learning science and electromagnetics, fucking physics. I'm like, when did this happen? It's crazy.
I was telling the story, to my girlfriend. I have a shaman friend of mine. And we would work, for many years, we would work together, and we did this thing called tag team healing in my practice in Denver. And he's like, hey, you want to do tag team healing? I said, what is that? He goes, he like would channel. He plays didgeridoo, and he would do his rattle, and he would sing, and he would channel. And I would just give him a piece of paper and have this little like humanoid structure, and he would just like circle parts of the body and write words, and he would just do this channel thing, and not knowing anything about the human body at all. And he would write, and I looked at it though, and knowing the patients, it was like really accurate. And then my job was to then shape a protocol based off of what he found. And I did that as an experiment, and like all my hardest patients, we did that through, and he started shifting. And we did this for like 3 years. And then actually he got replaced by a biofeedback system that I developed and now these other things. But I remember one time we're on this trip going down to Lake Titicaca in Peru. And we're on this boat and I'm sitting there and he's reading a book, I'm reading a book. And I look over and I'm like, what are you reading? And he shows me the cover. He's reading this anatomy book. You know, because he's like, I feel like I need to learn more anatomy. He goes, what are you reading? And I was reading the secret tablets of Thoth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Emerald Tablets.
The Emerald Tablets, yeah.
Really? You've read it?
Yeah, well, I was reading the book.
I can't find it anywhere. They
Oh,
keep
I-
fucking deleting it from the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about other but it was interesting because that's what we were reading. So we had this like swap, you know, we had this kind of swapping because like, you know, he's a shaman not knowing the deficient in the human body.
Yes.
I was a doctor deficient in like this ancient teachings and we were educating ourselves.
Right. He's
And
going
so-
in with anatomy, you're going in with 12.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so, you know, we
The
had,
Emerald Tablets, like the fucking crucible.
you know what I mean? I feel like this technology though is being downloaded. It's like that kind of stuff. So these are some of the things that we're talking about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, it's interesting. I call this work shamanic technology.
Yeah, it is.
We went down, the first time I ever went to Peru and drank, have you drank ayahuasca?
I've done every psychedelic.
I don't know, it's like another under the sun.
Yeah, I have. But I don't do it for partying purposes. I do
Yeah.
it for ascension and learning and
Oh, that's good.
connection. But ayahuasca, my story's funny, but go ahead.
Good. Well, why don't you tell me? I think that was kind of opening. I was opening.
Okay, so
You tell me your story, and then I'll share with you the story I was gonna.
So I was in Ibiza. I was dating this girl from Brazil who had lived there at the time, maybe 18, 19 years in Ibiza. And she's been doing ayahuasca since she was young. So she's like, it's time, Bachito, it's time for you to do ayahuasca. I'm like, all right, cool.
See, I've never been to Ibiza, but I heard it's super like spiritual. It's
It
like
can
major
be.
vortex.
Yeah, it depends on who
I think
you
it
know.
depends on That's what I was told.
Well, it's we can get into it a little later, but it's a focal point for the tetrahelix of the Earth. You know, it's one of the points, one of the 3 northern points. And
I've heard this actually.
Yeah, and it's the other one's Lake Tahoe.
Oh.
That's why if you've
That's the other end
Yeah.
of the pole?
And like Lake Tahoe, it has its Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
Ibiza has its Reno, Nevada as well.
Noted.
I'm sure you understand.
Well, yeah, it's the duality.
Energy, of course. Energy
Yeah,
is
duality
energy.
and polarity.
Exactly. So you're going to have both sides, you know. Thankfully, it's in a place on the earth that's seasonal, or you'd have another Vegas on your hands. It would reign supreme. But thankfully, it's seasonal. So
Okay.
the winters enable Ibiza to maintain its spiritual beauty, I think, in the people. Because summertime can be brutal. It's really, really heinous. It's fun, of course. Ibiza's a beautiful, amazing place, but go.
That's what I heard. I'd like to go. I'm excited to that invitation has not quite revealed itself.
Well, I may be doing a residency this summer.
Oh.
So I can't say where or
Yeah, okay.
anything yet, because once it's sealed, I'll announce it all.
It's
But,
a Facebook pre-exclusive.
Pre-exclusive
Yeah.
to
So-
be announced at some point or not if negotiations fail.
if it's in resonance.
This is basically what it is.
Yeah.
So if it's is that a dog? It is. Oh yeah, now you look fucking sick fuck. So anyway, yeah. If I do it, then you're more than welcome to come.
Oh, thank you.
We'll have a place. You guys can car crash,
Great.
and blast properly. But yeah, so ayahuasca. So I got asked to do it at the session, and it was like a shaman from Brazil, which was cool. It was like the top of this mountain in Ibiza with this big ass dome, like see-through thing, and beautiful property, a really amazing thing. But there was like 60 people at it, which I found antithetical to connecting with nature.
It's challenging on that size.
You know,
It's
you're
not
gonna
my
have,
preference.
right, you're gonna have a lot of people that are there because their ex-wife
What
left
year was
them,
this?
and this is like 2015. So
Okay.
you're gonna have like, you know, the dude that like, he lost his job and ayahuasca's gonna tell him what to do next, and all these just ridiculous reasons for people to be there. And there is always gonna be this element in anything, you know? People trying to find answers rather than give solutions, with
Yeah.
giving themselves. So it's like, for me, ayahuasca was dope, but we do it. They had to separate, and all these like girls on one side, guys on another, like three kind of semicircles, and people start doing this bouncing dance back and forth. I'm like, I've done enough psychedelics.
That's what was happening?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? So I've done enough psychedelics in my life to know that you don't like do psychedelics and then start hopping around. Like, you might have a problem, maybe. And so I snuck out, like all like hoppy hop, like back a row, hoppy hop, back a row. My girlfriend's looking at me from across, like, this motherfucker's trying to leave. I'm like, not trying, darling.
Yeah.
Do or do not, as Yoda says. Do is what I'm doing.
So you weren't feeling it?
Well, it wasn't that I wasn't feeling ayahuasca. I wasn't feeling their method of staying in an airport when we have tickets to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Why don't we get on a plane and get to the destination experience? You know what I mean? Sitting in purgatory is my idea of fun for anything. So they had all these people hopping around and then like doing their song and dance stuff. So I escaped outside to roll a cigarette. It was a blunt. So and I'm smoking outside and it's starting to kick in a little bit, and I'm like, I see the trees and the roots connect to all the other roots, communicating also with and it just started to make sense. Like I was like, wow, I'm like, wow, okay, ayahuasca, I hear what you're doing, girl, no problem. All of a sudden, are you okay? This guy comes out. I'm like, holy shit. Like I was fucking psychopath. He sprayed some like, I don't know, no, it wasn't rose water, it was something else. It was like, the Vicks Vapor Rub things?
Okay.
Echinacea. It was like just tons of echinacea. Like, and I'm just like, bro, it's like, you gotta come back to the group. Like, why? I'm good out here, I'm connecting with the trees. It's like, you don't understand. We can protect you. I'm like, I spent the last 10 years in Los Angeles, California, bro. This is fucking Ibiza. Trust me, the most dangerous thing here is me. I'm like,
well, I think that's probably a point.
And he was like, no, but we can protect you. I'm like, from what? Like chupacabra? Like I'm not worried, bro. Like I live in Ibiza. I'm not one of these tourists here because they got a divorce or some shit and they're doing ayahuasca for this reason. Which I think is an insane reason to do it. Do it because she calls you. Punto. So I decided, okay, fine, I'll come back to the group. So I come back to the group. Now there are people like roll on the ground after doing another thing of ayahuasca. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, soon everyone's gonna be defecating and vomiting all over the place. For sure. For sure. This is just science,
Yeah.
So I escape again. I find a bench, I'm looking up at all the trees, and it's a beautiful location. So I'm like, yes, I understand. Oh, the starlight. And it was like the math is just downloading into me, right? So I understand the history of the earth, the connectivity of everything, how we need to show Earth far more respect than we do as a race, a species. And all of a sudden, the dude and the shaman now, I open my eyes and they're like over top of me, like, are you okay? I was like, oh my God. It's like being on the phone and someone just tapping on the shoulder. Are you on the phone? You're like, what? Yes, man.
I'm good.
I'm good. Yeah. Give me a second. They're like, you have to come back to the group. I'm like, oh my God, all right, fine. All of a sudden, people start throwing up, and just like a mess,
Yeah.
This is like 2 hours in, so rallies. I'm
getting well. Everybody's
the
getting well.
muggles are getting ripped apart. Let's call it, because I believe in magic. I know how to do it, so it's whatever. But the muggles, they were not prepared for ayahuasca. You should have started slowly. You know what I'm saying? No. So there's a mess now, and there's all these people in white trying to help all these tourists. And they're telling me I gotta go back to the group. So this fucking bananas has happened. So I go back to the group. My girlfriend's like, I'm going to die. I'm like, you're not gonna die. Just come with me. Like, I think I found a place. It's like a rooftop. We can just kick it with the stars and smoke hash. She's like, no, I'm gonna die. And it's like storms off into this thing. Some person in white bringing her, trying to calm her down. Then everybody's lined up to get baptized. I was like, this is insane. So I found a rooftop that no one knew where it was with me. And I went up and just chilled. And I could hear, I know this is so bad that I'm laughing at all this. I'm sorry. It's really funny. So this is people like just puking over here, ruined over there. My girlfriend at the time screaming, I'm going to die! Like, she's not ayahuasca like 50 times in her life, right? Like, this is what it's like for you every time. It's terrible. So, I finally go down because I can't handle hearing her cries for help with this random lady, like, trying to, like, calm her down. So I'm like, Krishna, come with me now. She's like, are you here? Are you here to help me? And I'm like, yes, of course. And I'm destroying, right? Like on ayahuasca, everything's just,
Yeah.
But I'm like surfing, it's no pasa nada. So I take her by the hand. She's like, where are we going? I'm like, we're going to the stars. She's like, you have a spaceship. I'm like, sort of, but don't trip. We go up on the thing, we lay down. I'm like, now look at the stars and breathe. She's like, oh my God. I'm like, right. And they're like, okay, everyone, we're going to do this now. And it just was so funny. And we just started laughing. And we kept laughing at everything they were doing and saying. And from the distance, they're like, you be quiet out there.
No, they just let you go.
Yeah, they just like, they weren't going to look for me anymore. No. They're like, what happened to you? I'm like, I had a wonderful ayahuasca trip. They're like, but what if you threw up? I'm like, no. They're like, what if you, I'm like, no. They're like, yeah, but your girlfriend, I'm like, was fine after I got her and brought her to the source.
Yeah.
They're like, well, how do you know how to do this? I'm like, I didn't come here for fashion or a party. I came here to connect with Earth. Same with DMT. People do DMT every second day. I'm like, you have any idea how annoyed the Council of Light is? That you're just sitting there like knocking on their door. Hey guys, how about now? Can't do this shit daily. At all. You gotta, when you get the Council's attention, and they're willing to give you 2 minutes of their time, which is a fucking eon for us children of the corn species, and have no right for that council yet. If we're playing with God particles and molecules, we gotta be careful. Go there when it's the right moment, get the information necessary, come back and do that shit. Or you're fronting. You're straight fronting.
It's interesting you say that.
Is what it is.
That medicine, I was introduced to the medicine in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And by the shaman, and he's my age.
Same guy, yeah.
He's my age. So we were young men at the time. And I just remember going out there and having this connection with the medicine, and it was not that. Okay, it's like, no, my experience was not.
Well, no, for sure.
Like,
I probably had a normal one.
Well,
that's
I had a really
like
powerful experience.
For sure, like with nature, probably with a guide. And mine was like some commercial, drive-through that I escaped.
Yeah.
It was like this.
Well, so the funny thing about it is,
ayahuasca.
So the first story we had, I had this whole experience, and then I went back 6 months later, and back to Peru. With the shaman, went back to, they have this whole shamanic healing.
And did you do it again?
I did it again, but it's funny because I didn't know anything about it the first time, and then I went back and I met all these people, and they started sharing their stories. They had a lot of stories like yours, and I was just like, oh my God, like what? I'm so thankful that was not my story.
It became so, ayahuasca didn't become commercialized, but there's people that have leveraged it in a commercial manner and don't respect what it is. So they're using it like feel better, and Brad's searching for the dog and himself, and he's just been on the vibe for an hour. He's just like, Well, your machines are amazing. If you guys haven't tried it, buy one. They're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, they're great. They're great. This is like, look at him. Like, this is the exact result. He's just happy eating fruit. No responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry. I wish we could show them.
We're having the experience right now.
You again? Thanks.
But I wanted to share with this technology. I feel like I call it shamanic technology.
For sure.
Because not everybody wants to sit in a room and vomit.
No, exactly.
But and it's so therapeutic, and if done correctly. So I was talking with some people over the weekend. And it's funny because they were asking me like, tell me about ayahuasca. They don't have any, and I said it's not about drinking the ayahuasca. It's about who's preparing the ayahuasca, and in what setting, and with who's doing it, and then what's your intention, what's going on. There's so many variables besides the actual medicine itself, and it's so powerful. If any of those ingredients aren't correct, that's going to influence the experience. And so for me, I feel very blessed that I had these amazing experiences. But what really came through was, how can we create like what's happening? We're unzipping the three-dimensional spacesuit, and we're doing some soul scraping. How can I reproduce that and package it for the masses? That's safe.
Yeah. Well, as we know, everything is frequency.
And that's effective.
We know that everything is frequency, right?
Sound like frequency and vibration.
Yeah, everything is frequency. Everything. It's just different octaves.
Yeah.
So like you have very low octaves like physical matter.
Yeah.
And you have very high octaves like light and aromatics.
Yeah.
Right? Sound is kind of in the middle. It's why we feel sound at the same time. We can almost see it.
And it connects directly with our nervous system, with our fascia. It's a direct fascia interaction. That's
Absolutely.
why I use it. And then I like manipulating that to go deeper with light, with frequency-based light.
Yeah, well, if you're dealing with different octaves and you're working them in chords, you're essentially making harmonies. Like an F sharp or an F flat seventh, right? Is what they call the angel's note, right? So it's actually beautiful. We've all heard it, but it covers 2 octaves, 7 keys, But you can do that essentially over the course of everything, okay? And you can multiple that. So you can do one in sound, one in light, one in physical, and one in aromatic, and have that angel note in all aspects of the perception band.
So that concept is what we're working on.
Right.
And I call it full spectrum therapy.
Absolutely.
And it's what I've been finding has been my challenge, and it's also been my journey, is I have all these little bits and pieces that all feed into it, but we haven't been able to pull the line together,
Right.
and it's into one technology. So I have like multiple technologies, and they're all doing it, and then the cool thing about our nervous system is that it all harmonizes.
There might be there's a chef out of Barcelona. I forget his name. He's very world famous. He's a molecular chef. Okay, so he deals with flavors and how they work together on a molecular level, like how yeah, I know, right? It's really interesting stuff.
Yummy.
So it's like imagine you're dealing with the frequencies of each flavor, right? Which are going to be correlated to its texture and its smell, and even its color. And
then we're going to put the program through the vibe,
right,
and vibrate it into your fascia,
right. So between the vibration physically,
sound, light,
right,
vibration,
sound, the light, and then you get something with the aromatics that everything has to be perfectly tuned.
Exactly.
And the biggest problem is that there's a lot of things in the space that are misinformation and white noise for just profiteering, right? And so it's like they stand there with the big sign, but it's not the real deal. So it kind of makes people off the path of what it is. Like even say Pro Tools and Ableton. Okay, for me, I've used them all. I come from outboard gear. I come from analog hardware. I come from the whole shebang, all the way up to I use Bitwig now because Bitwig is the most intuitive. Lets us do whatever we want to the sound, right? So I can properly go into 432.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's dope.
Okay, so I need Bitwig.
Yeah, bitwig.com.
Tell me about. So is that just that's a software?
It's a DAW, yeah. It's a DAW. It's like I can give
you
a
plugin.
Yeah, no, it's a DAW. It's a DAW. So it holds every other VST.
Oh.
I don't think it takes audio units, but it takes VST, VST2s, and you can put pretty much anything you want, any sound. It's like beautiful. It's all sandbox, 32-bit integer, and 32-bit floating point. So it's like really nice. Like my waves when I bounce down are like 140, 150 megs for just a regular wave.
Great.
At 24-bit. So it's like, it's fat sound. It's really, really, really clean. So I found that with Ableton and these other ones, it's like they're forcing you into this 44.1. And again, this incorrect tuning is what people think is the standard. They even call the thing standard tuning. It's insane, right? So it's like they get into this standard that is incorrect. So this is also something we have to be wary about we have to be very, very, I think, diligent about making sure that everything is done in the right tuning. Making sure that the light is even the correct tuning. Because it is very important. Otherwise, it's dissonant and poisonous.
What I feel has been happening. So we were just having this conversation this weekend because we have lights. We have these. I work with a company called Neurocare Systems, and they have red and blue and infrared lights, and they're all medical grade LEDs. But they also have pulsation ratios for the solfeggio and nocia frequencies, which I use in my music.
Yeah.
But so there's people that were coming in and they were saying things like, oh, like I'm really light sensitive or I'm seizure sensitive, and I've never had any problems with this. And I said to them, even though it might be bright in your eyes to start with, whatever you feel may happen is only like an experience that you think is going to happen.
Right.
But it's actually because we're pulsing harmonic resonant light into your body. It's healing.
Of course.
the only thing that could possibly happen to you would be something healing.
I remember the seizures, giving
Like
kids
that's from
seizures
dissonance.
from television. It's dissonance.
Yeah.
100%
It's
dissonant
dissonance.
frequency.
Yeah.
Of dissonant light frequency.
I used to
It's
treat a
what
lot.
causes
I used to treat a lot of seizures,
Mhm.
patients, and they were actually really easy. They were some of my easiest patients,
it. Really?
and I did like very little to them. What I did, I had this like framework. Okay, I had this like kind of recipe that I would move them through, what I called a causal chain progression. And trust me, I had my many fair shares of tough cases, like very difficult, hard cases. Seizures was not one of them. And because all I would do the first 4 visits was resetting the nervous system.
Right.
And by the time I got through the first 4, most of them were like 90 to 100% better.
For sure.
We just like reset their nervous system. We didn't even get into the inflammatory triggers or any of the other stuff that got into like later on ingrained into the chronic conditions, which I thought was really fascinating. I mean, because I was me as the biggest student, the best teachers were my patients. Because you're gonna know right there, is this working or not?
For sure. My dance floor is the same way.
Is your dad a doctor?
No, my dance floor.
Oh, your dance floor. Okay. Oh, okay.
No, my dance floor is the same way. It's like
What's working?
no matter, I would always watch their reactions. Like even if I brought them all on a frenzy and if they're videotaping like 20, 30, 40, 50 of them with their phones up, I failed them. It's like when they are connecting to each other and just in the moment, and time matters not. It's like there, I've done my job. And I learn more from that. It's like I see what I'm doing now is bringing them to this commercial, and it doesn't need to be commercial music. It's the commercial sensibility versus the connective sensibility. And commercial sensibility is an individualistic way of creating envy, and then ego reinforcing the desire of envy from others. And this is a huge consumer building tactic that you can use really with music. When we make pop music, for example, and I made pop music, so I know exactly what it does. It's like you might as well just put post-hypnotic suggestions like at minus 35 dB in the thing, and just buy Nike shoes, buy Nike shoes. You might as well just do it.
Or not even that, but even worse. It's more like
crazy
there's
because
trauma, or go like rape somebody, or like
so much
or you're down in a hole
craziness.
and you're OD.
Homie,
The
you can't
words,
imagine
and it's
what's
all
put in
calibrated.
music.
It's like a download.
You can't imagine what's put in pop music. You can't imagine. It is atrocious.
Behind it or in general?
Behind it, inside the music, deep down in the mix. It's atrocious what they do. Atrocious. Even this binaural beats thing, that's atrocious.
Well,
atrocious. Because it's done in the wrong frequency and root. Okay?
well, I get
You
the
do binaural beats
Yeah.
in dissonant 441, you're asking for like a psychotic break on this person if they go in with this. Or like these subliminals that are like these reverse da-da-da, but all in the wrong frequency. Now it's like, these people are going to go lose their shit. Watch what's happened. It's like,
so I feel like
bad.
I feel like what we're going to do here is just create a whole new genre.
Yes, and then
So we're putting together
put it in. I think what we need essentially is plugins that go into the DAWs that have some way of integrating these frequencies that you've created. I'm very, very interested.
And more.
And more. Of
Yeah, we
course.
gotta be. I feel like I'm needing to get back into my because in my mind I know it's my library and there's a lot of things what I'm looking for are missing. So I'm desperately looking for my new space to continue that frequency hunt. It really started this weekend at the Brain Summit because it really started reactivating my neurology.
For sure.
So what I love best about my Monday nights at 7 o'clock here on the Epic Vibe Show with Dr. Vibe.
Dr. Vibes.
Hey, listen, I was like, who? But it's about the Epic Vibes.
Yeah, man.
And you're the Epic Vibes that we brought into the Epic Vibe Show.
Oh, I appreciate it.
No, dude, thank you. I appreciate you. And who can we bring in? It's so much fun. And please go ahead and tell the world where we can see you next, or how we can connect with you, or what's your...
Well, you can check out my record label, Haustronaut, HAUSTRONAUT.com, or anywhere else. I'm Motohaus, MOTOEHAUS, on everything. I've dominated SEO. So by having the strangest names ever, impronounceable, damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna
Motohaus.
I'm here in LA for a little bit. I just finished doing a bunch of shows and tours for the last couple months. I was in Berlin working with Jerome Sydenham and my boy Joe Roach, and now I was in Miami playing Ultra, Coachella, Beverly Hills Film Festival stuff here. I'm going to be in Vancouver for some stuff, Houston, Miami, and then I'm potentially going to be in Ibiza this summer. So keep a lookout. We're always releasing new great music. Stay love, baby. Stay love.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
If Dr. Vibe can dance, if it's Dr. Vibe dance approved, I would highly encourage you.
He was breaking a leg.
I was breaking a leg for sure.
I was right at the front.
We had a good time, and we were completely on nothing but vibes. So, with that being said, thank you. My name is Dr. Vibe, and this is the Epic Vibe Show. We're here every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can connect with us on Instagram at Bioharmonic Technologies, on Facebook, Bioharmonic Technologies. If you want to connect with me personally, Dr. Stephen Schwartz, DC, on Instagram and on Facebook. And we are here holding down the vibes. Check out Vibes Vibrational Individualized Body Enhancement Systems. And I look forward to vibing with you someplace really cool real soon. And next week, we were going to be at Portal to the New Earth in Joshua Tree. If you have not bought your tickets for that, please do. People say, is it a festival? It's a portal to the new earth. And it's in Joshua Tree. So if you're interested in being part of anchoring a portal to the new earth.
What day is this on?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Boulder Gardens. And I would love to have you come. We're going to have a big vibe zone set up there. I'm teaching a workshop, and I'm doing what we call a live sonic alchemy journey. It's like it's a live frequency portal activation.
Really?
Yeah. One of my dear friends, Future Primitive, is going to be one of the headliners for the event, along with so many other amazing artists, and it's going to be epic.
Oh, well, definitely give me the information.
Okay.
I'd love to come. That sounds cool.
Thank
We
you.
have a show. Are we doing this party next week? I think this weekend we're doing a party, secret party. DM me for details.
Okay. So thank you so much. Till next week. This is Dr. Vibe, and this is the Epic Vibe Show. We'll see you next Monday at 7 o'clock.